Welcome back to another episode. So we have one of the most complicated hobbies of all time. All the different settings and accessories and satellites and Karens and so on. But once I created this simple system for cinematic drone shots, I was like, wow, this is fun now. I haven't had this much fun since I discovered martinis in the morning shower. So now my drone flights are simple and relaxed and actually fun, and the quality of my footage is always improving. So let's show you this simple system I created. Let's go. So get out your New York City subway pass, my friend. We're going to the famous Coney Island to show you this drone cinematography system in action. We have arrived. Man, I'm excited to get the drone up and start looking around. Wow, what an absolute hot mess. Just a jungle of twisted metal. I don't see a shot here anywhere, yet we're in one of the most photographed locations of all time. So let's go a bit higher and see if anything jumps out at us. Not really. I mean, this is a decent wide establishing shot. Okay, game plan, my friend. So after this shot right here, you and I are gonna walk through the simple drone cinematography system I created for us. So stay tuned. But for now, let's start thinking like a cinematographer. This is the Coney Island amusement park here. Now, the F subway train, it runs above ground along here. So let's walk over to this spot. We'll launch the drone and we'll wait for the subway to pass by. That will put the subway in the foreground, the amusement park in the middle ground, and the sunny beach in the background. So now we have a game plan. So let's see if this actually works. So that's the subway tracks up there, and the subway will be entering from the right. And remember, the amusement park is just on the other side of the subway tracks. So I'm hoping as the drone rises above the subway, it should slowly reveal the amusement park and the gorgeous beach and sunrise. So this is called a reveal shot because the camera movement is slowly revealing important information in the scene, which keeps the viewer engaged. Oh, holy crap, the subway's coming. And the slow reveal. Oh, get you some of that. Bravo to us! We took a scene that was just a big hot mess. We found a single subject to be the centerpiece. Then we employed a simple cinematography reveal shot technique. My DJI Mini 2 is a stud. It's super windy up there. It's a very high dynamic range shot, and the footage looks beautiful. Dude, you can keep your Mavic 4 Pro XL, whatever. I guarantee you, I'm having more fun with my little Mini 2 barrel. Now, finally, here is the simple drone cinematography system I created for us. And by the way, if you want a much deeper dive on all this, my drone cinematography masterclass, it's now live just for a short time. You will learn all the fun little nuances of becoming a better flying camera filmmaker. So you can much better kind of document all your little adventures in life. There's a link down below if you want to check it out. So now, step one is to greatly simplify. I said earlier that we have such a complicated hobby. This is an absolute essential step because we can't be relaxed and creative if we're constantly monitoring and changing settings and ND filters. So I'm telling you right now, for me, this was the single biggest game changer. Once I started this simplification step, I can now focus on cinematography fundamentals, and my footage just dramatically started getting better, and I'm having more fun. So I use auto exposure, auto white balance, and no ND filters, unless it's a bright sunny day. And in that case, I just put on an ND64. That's it, nothing to think about, no settings to adjust and distract me from my creative process. I found that auto white balance, it works great about 95% of the time. And that 5% of the time when the white balance is off a little bit, it was just a small amount and I was able to quickly fix it in editing. So auto white balance allows me to never have to worry about it when I'm flying. Now, I do not want lots of gear and an expensive drone and fancy carrying cases. None of that stuff actually makes the image itself any better. But, you know, I understand for some guys, like, that's the hobby. It's collecting new gear and shopping and kind of diving and looking at all the little specs at the expensive drones, and they see themselves as a pilot. Now, I'm the exact opposite of that. I hate gear. Gear just, it gets in the way and it's distracting for me. This is my entire kit right here. My drone, it's a flying camera that I use to document my life and this beautiful planet we're on. I am not a pilot. I'm a landscape photographer with a flying camera. So that's the little identity shift, and that's who I am, and that's how I think. So now, the second step on our system here is crashing and Karens. Yeah, these are the big ones. These are the ones that kind of get us nervous, and they'll pull us away from that creative mood, kind of get us out of our creative, relaxed element. So let's start with the Karens. Now, in all my years, I've never actually been confronted by a Karen, but in my head, ooh, they're hiding behind every little tree, ready to jump out as soon as I launch my drone. That's all in our head. In my head, I kind of rehearse what I'm gonna say, and I say, Ted, stay calm. I always rehearse all that in my head, and it just never happens. Now, I could talk for way too long here about Karens, but I don't want to. I'll simply share my opinion here, and then we'll move on. Actual Karens out in the real world, it's very rare. It may have happened to you, but I'll just say this. When we do get confronted, so what? They're the ones that's triggered. It's their problem, not ours. We are not doing anything wrong, so just always be polite. And if you get a really loud, aggressive Karen, do not match her energy. Just say this. Howdy, ma'am. Beautiful morning we have here, huh? Yep, so this is my hobby. I'm a landscape photographer with a little flying camera. That's it. Perfectly legal. And if you like, I can get a beautiful photograph of you walking the hell away from here. I'm just kidding. Just be brief, polite, and do not match her aggressive energy. Let her match your calm energy. That's just great life advice for any situation in this crazy world. Over time, that nervousness about Karens and being confronted, it'll slowly dissipate, I promise you. Now, lastly is the nervousness of crashing. So I'm actually working on a really long, dedicated episode on not crashing our drones, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so step one is about simplification of our overcomplicated hobby so we can focus on our creativity. And step two is calming our nerves about crashing and Karens. So that step takes a little bit of time. Now, step 3 is the final step. This is our cinematography. Ooh, and that's a big complicated word, right? Cinematography. 6 syllables. Fancy. So in all my years with these little flying gals, I've reduced the big overwhelming subject of drone cinematography into 4 simple steps. Step 1 is to find an interesting singular subject in the scene. So I always find that I need to get the drone pretty low to find an interesting subject and to isolate that subject better. Now, step 2, once you've found a subject, is to stop. Study how the light is hitting it and put your drone in cine mode so that you can now slowly move the drone around the subject until you find a position and an angle where the sun is hitting the subject in a really interesting way so that the sunlight is kind of highlighting the most interesting features of the subject. And I really encourage you to do a full 360 at this point around the subject, because quite often you're going to be really surprised by finding an angle you wouldn't have thought of unless you did that trial and error. And I've often found silhouettes to be really striking. I love doing that. So yeah, do a full slow 360 at this point, studying exactly how the light is hitting on the subject, trying to find the best angle. Now, step 3 is see if you can now adjust the camera just slightly, positioning the drone so that it eliminates any distracting elements in the shot, like ugly power lines or parked cars or something. It's a very important little step. And you're also now repositioning the drone slightly to see if you can add things in the shot, creating a depth of field with foreground elements, middle ground, and background elements, exactly like we did with our New York City subway scene. So this step 3 is generally called composition, where we're adjusting our camera position to compose the elements in the shot, adding or subtracting things to our liking. So step 4, man, I think this is the most overlooked element, because our drones can fly around, so we usually do, meaning we find a pretty scene, we hit record, and we start flying around. So we just have constant camera movement in our drone shots. So what I'm encouraging you to do here is, in this step 4, is to have no camera movement for a while. Spend a few months with no camera movement in your drone shots, because the dynamic action of the camera movement always moving in a scene, it can kind of mask and cover up weak composition and lighting and subject. Meaning, if our drone is stationary when it's recording, man, if our cinematography sucks, you're gonna know it right away. It's gonna be really obvious when your drone is stationary. Does that make sense? So here's a good example. It's in one of my favorite shots of all. It's the elevated subways in Brooklyn. I found a strong subject. I have really strong composition in the scene, and there's no camera movement. This places more emphasis on what's actually happening in the scene, because it gives the viewer more time to visually digest all the little details in the shot when the camera is stationary. Now, your drone footage may seem more boring at first if you spend a few months just getting shots, or mostly getting shots, where your drone is not moving, because it's going to shine a spotlight on your weak lighting and your weak composition skills. Hugely important if you want to actually improve. That's cool, man. I like that one a lot. Now, the last concept I want to share here, it's something that we discussed earlier in the Coney Island shot. It's a specific kind of camera movement. Now, I know we just talked about not having no camera movement, but I just want to address this type of camera movement because we did it earlier. So this is called motivated camera movement in Hollywood. So we're not moving the camera for no reason, which is what most drone beginners do. You're only moving the drone, you're only moving the camera in the scene when there's a reason to do so, meaning it's motivated, there's a reason. So the reason or the motivation for the camera movement here in the Coney Island shot is we were moving the camera slowly to reveal information to the viewer. It keeps them engaged. It adds to the storytelling of the scene. So next time you're watching like a movie or Netflix, you're gonna now see this everywhere. The camera only moves for a very specific reason. So see if you can identify it in every scene next time you're watching a movie or television. It's a really fun cinematic practice for you. Oh man, I really enjoyed this. Now, if you'd like to support the channel here, the best way is to click on the link down in the description to join our community. Man, I would be so grateful. Thank you for watching, my flying filmmaker friend, and I'll see you in the next one.